Hey, everybody. Welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from giantbomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about what feels like the 50th game this year to launch to glowing reviews. It's going to be a good one because we have Jon Sick Mechanico Clarke on the show. Jon, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Mr. Grubb, and thank you for pronouncing the ridiculous gamer tag correctly.
I get it
a
right.
Rare talent.
Yeah, that one I've heard said out loud, so I can remember that one. Jon, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, mate. I'm doing good. You know, embracing my midlife crisis, dyeing my hair ridiculous colors.
You have to at some point.
Desperately to my ever-fading youth. But as you rightly say, playing just 2026, man, I thought 2025 was like rivaling 2007 as one of the best years of video game life for video games. And don't get me wrong, like, let's put a pin in all the terrible things that are happening in this industry. But in terms of like the games,
yeah, the people that are sticking around making the games turns out really talented. Yeah.
Good Lord, we are drowning in excellent video games. It's great.
It is going from one great game to the next. It's kind of how it's been for me, and not complaining on that side of things. Kind of just wish that more developers got to do that. So, and it's working. Like, seems like a lot of these games are finding their audience, and it's been pretty good. We'll talk about some good games here in a second. In fact, let's get into the show and let's explain what we do here. I'm Jeff Grubb. This is Giant Bomb. You can go to giantbomb.com/join and become a premium member. If you do so, you get access to a bunch of cool stuff. You get premium exclusive shows. You get early access to shows that go on premium first and then go public later. You get ad-free versions of all of our programs. But most, you get the satisfaction of supporting independent games media. We're out here doing this thing. We want to keep doing it our way. You can help make that possible, and we really are appreciative to everyone who has helped us do that. And if you're on the side because you can't afford it or whatever reason, we get it. Tell a friend, hang out here, make the community cooler just by having your presence be a part of it. We really appreciate that as well. As far as this show goes, most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Mina the Hollower reviews. They're in after a long wait for this game, and it's, just critical ravings mostly across the board, with some notable exceptions, but a 92 on OpenCritic last time I checked. I expect it to hover around there. I don't think it's going to have some massive dip, but we've seen a lot of games recently, Jon, launch to 92 and then kind of drop to around 90, 89. So it could happen here as well. But lots of perfect scores or whatever, however you want to phrase that. 10 out of 10 from Samuel Claiborne at IGN, who said
IGN 10.
Yes, right. Exactly. They are pretty stingy with those. And here's another one from Samuel Claiborne, who says, Mina the Hollower will burrow into your brain and set up a cozy little house there. I couldn't let it go. Clues to unsolved puzzles popped into my brain before bed. A corner high out of reach that I never set foot on beckons me every time I pass it on my way to the shops in Ossex. The math tells me maxing out my attack power would just take one really good grinding spot, and then I could beat that secret boss that destroyed me. Mina achieves the same heights in both action and style as the studio's predecessor in terms of Shovel Knight. Got 5 stars from Joshua Robertson at The Gamer. Mina the Hollower is an almost faultless game that combines the elements of nostalgic classics we know and love with a healthy dose of Yacht Club's flair and expertise to make it something that truly stands out as a retro-inspired masterpiece. I could honestly play it forever, with Yacht Club proving that it's not just a one-game studio with yet another bona fide classic. Meanwhile, Mike Minotti here at Giant Bomb gave it 3.5 stars. He said somehow the Dark Souls influences keep Mina from being the best Zelda-style game it could be, while the Zelda mechanics prevent it from reaching the heights of the best Souls-likes. I've been playing it, Jon, and I'm definitely somewhere in between all this, actually. I'm like, this is a pretty good game. It's something about it early on, at least. I've not played a ton. has not been sticking with me. I've definitely been happy to like go over to Bond, which we'll talk about here in a second. But I could see why so many people are very into it. And I was a little surprised to be like, oh man, there sounds like there's so much more in terms of the depth of what's going on in the gameplay and the world. Just a ton of screens to explore. It seems substantial. What do you make of all this?
Yeah, like it's an interesting one because I'm surprised to see it score so highly because Jesse, our reviews lead, has been playing it and is like, this game is punishingly difficult, and that can often create a kind of a skill gap, if we want to use that phrase, where some people will just bounce off it. Like, I'm probably going to be one of those people, right? This probably is not a me game to dive into, but he absolutely loved it. He didn't give it the full top marks. He gave it a 9
out of 10 or something. Yeah, 9.
Yeah. He said it was, channels the vibes of all the best old school games, but brings some modern sensibilities along for the ride with smartly paced exploration and tight gameplay. A difficult but rewarding experience. And at just $20, it's well worth the punt.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, well, do you remember that? I'm a huge Link's Awakening fan, and so when I saw this and it was like, oh, that looks a lot like that's what they're going for. And it's, in terms of some of the elements of the game, it is definitely a Zelda, but they are there's so many other elements in here. You can't just put it in any one jar. And I do think that I was like, oh yeah, what Mike got there is kind of the sense I got early on, which is, jack of all trades, master of none, or whatever. But does sound like it for some people, they got over that hump and it was like, oh, it becomes this cohesive experience kind of doing its own thing. But I do think there will be a hump there, and that will be both difficulty, as you pointed out, and then just kind of grasping all like the way all the very specific mechanics work. For example, the Estus flasks in this game. The recovery mechanic is not just, you drink your Estus flask and you get your life back like in Dark Souls or Bloodborne or something like that. You have to attack an enemy to like get potential health back. And then when you take a drink, that fills up. And it's like, so if you get attacked by something else in between taking that drink, which, you're vulnerable during, you're going to lose more health as well as that potential health. It's like, okay, that's pretty complicated. That's a little bit more sort of, again, in depth than I was expecting. And I think a lot of players will be expecting. So I think it'll take time for newcomers to sort of grasp that sort of thing. Yeah. But it does sound like people will find something. They'll find some like purchase here.
I think as well, like just seeing like, and this is the great thing about video games nowadays, right? Is you get big AAA extravaganzas like Bond, which we'll talk about in a bit, but you still get these love letters to the past that bring along the modern kind of more modern game design and do things that frankly like systems back in the old days could never do, and yet are still just as fantastic in just completely different ways. And I love that there are so many different like avenues for people to just enjoy this hobby across a myriad of different genres without stressing too much, and like to see studios continue to find success in so much variety is just like, and like we said at the beginning, this whole industry is going through like a rough time for like the last, feels like half a decade now.
Forever, yeah.
But I still see stuff like this, and I'm just like, I'm so glad it exists, even if it's not for me. I'm just so glad that it's out and it's getting the kind of reaction that it's getting from players. It's good to see.
I was playing on Steam Deck. If anyone's wondering, flawless on there. Of course it would be. This is, they're not trying to go for realistic graphics or anything. It's a throwback style, but it was very comfortable to play on the Steam Deck, which, to me at this point means any of the other handhelds anyone's using are all more powerful than that at this point. So that's kind of your green light there that, you're going to be able to play that handheld, no issue. Mike did play on Switch too. He waited for a Switch code. I don't think there were a ton of Switch reviews. Maybe there were more after I looked this morning. And I think he had no issues as well. So there you go. All right, let's talk about the game you and I have been playing. 007 First Light reviews also came in. I know we talked about it on the Bombcast yesterday, everybody, but we've not talked about it on this show yet. Got an 88 on OpenCritic. This is another one that did actually open in the low 90s. It's kind of dipped down a little bit. I think it's probably going to settle in right around here, which is shocking to me, John. Just couldn't believe how good this game was. 5 stars from Jordan Midler over at VGC. 007 First Light might just be the best James Bond game ever. The way IOI has translated the Bond fantasy into a 14-hour globe-trotting epic is masterful. It's a game full of spectacle, humor, action, and romance, everything James Bond should be. New Bond owners, Amazon must ensure this franchise continues. 8 out of 10 from Mark Delaney at GameSpot, who says, 007 First Light wisely repurposes what works in both universes, I believe that is James Bond and Hitman, but isn't afraid to reimagine or ditch those parts that don't. I definitely agree with that. I think it's kind of one of the amazing things that did happen here. Then a 9 out of 10 from Jon Clarke at Day One, with a great cast of characters, tons of imagination, and just the right amount of player agency and replayability. There is a delightful playground full of gadgetry and spycraft that players will want to return to again and again. A confident return for the 00 program, and sorry, GoldenEye, this is without a doubt the best James Bond game ever made. I agree with that. This is yeah, I mean, this is it. They figured, it really feels like they cracked the nut here. They got this one sort of on lock in a way that my expectation for this game, John, was we'd go into it and be like, oh, I can see what they're going for. They're getting really close with this. You know, it's hard to make games. They had to like figure out the first stuff, and they came out with a really awesome 7 out of 10 that I'm going to be telling people, go play it. You should go be playing it. It's like, no. They skipped that part. And they're like, they made what feels like would have been the sequel. It's like, oh, everything really came together, because everything really comes together here. And I do think it all traces back to they used everything they learned from Hitman, but not as like an anchor, a thing that was weighing them down. It's like, this is the way we did it in Hitman, so we just got to find a way to make that make sense for James Bond. It's like, no, if it didn't make sense or it needed to change or it needed to be improved, like the combat, they did the hard work to make the combat fun in a James Bond way. Like that, when they deviated from Hitman, their answer was always, what makes it more James Bond? And the result here just is so obvious. Like from the first minute you pick up the controller, but then it just continues and gets better and better. How'd you find it?
Yeah, it's a funny one. And there's so much to unpack about this, because like from a pure game perspective, when I first started playing, initially I was a bit worried. I was like, uh-oh. You know, I'm squeezing through small gaps. I'm learning how to hide in long grass. I'm hanging from ledges. I do think there's, if you like glance at this game like for a second, I think there's like, oh, this combat looks like the block, punch. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't feel that way when you're playing it, but at a glance, it looks like AAA slop. Yeah. It looks like I've played this before, you know, and so that first like 45 minutes, but then you because it's an origin story, you're not a trained agent. You're a Navy airman. You're 26 years young, and it just escalates. And IOI did this fantastic job where, yes, it will interrupt you all the time with cutscenes, and it'll throw the odd QTE in AAA style at you to keep the pace up. But like you said, they do the smart things. They pull all these learnings from Hitman and World of Assassination is such an incredible experience. Like, and they just kept adding to it and adding to it. And here, you know, I've seen people criticize, oh, you can't hide the bodies. But the point is, Bond probably wouldn't. This is about pace. This is about getting the job done. And as you play through, like, I fell in love with Patrick Gibson's performance as Bond. He doesn't emulate anybody else. He doesn't do like a pass off of like your favorite Bond or whatever. He is his own man. And just all of the characters are great. The plot is suitably a bit silly in all the way Bond should be, but also very modern and grounded, and kind of throws away all the Cold War trappings of the original character. It just is such a surprise. And the only reason it didn't get like the top marks from me was that overall I feel it was almost too streamlined. Like, I feel like they... Yes, I agree with that, yeah. You know, they removed... They did mostly the right things, but there are moments where I was like, the stealth is too easy.
The guardrails are noticeable. Like, the guardrails need to be there. They absolutely need to be there, because, like, they cannot have you kind of getting off the beaten path and getting wacky in a way that doesn't feel like James Bond. So they put the guardrails in place.
What's the Rube Goldberg machine where you're just like going to cause all the... It's not like that. Right. And the combat, like, you're absolutely right. Like, what an elevation comparative to Hitman. Yeah. But there were moments where I was like, I'm 42. I haven't got the pace and the skills of my young 20-year-old version, right? And I'm doing things in 007 where I was like, I am a badass.
Yeah, you feel cool.
I was like, is this like expertly tuned to make me feel like a badass? And the answer is
it's just the animation. I really do. I think it's like it's so context aware of like where the character is. That you're pressing the button to, like, you know, I'm just trying to like survive this encounter and do this attack, and the attack kind of immediately, naturally, and fluidly goes into slamming a guy's head into a wall, and then everything doesn't like break or get janky and be like, oh, he's kind of like interacting with the wall weird and then falling down and the character's backing up and not really animate. No, it all animates perfectly, so it just looks so slick and smooth. I'm into what it's doing.
It's funny as well because, like, I know that there was a lot of discussion, and I'm sure I don't know if you guys experienced this, but like, I didn't get code for this until the Friday evening before in the UK, a bank holiday weekend, for the US, a Memorial Day weekend, right? So
I think we got it Friday morning or Thursday night or something like that. Yeah.
Like it was like, oh, okay, right. And and they were, they were like, could be 18 to 20 hours. And I'm like, anytime a PR company tells me that, I'm like, yeah, all right, half that, like I can play video games. But this is not a short game. They really have thrown everything at this to throw plot twists at you, surprising downtime, plot development, exposition. It is just, IOI did it. They pulled it off. Forget all the silly, it's woke. There's a woman in charge. That's clearly someone on the internet.
There's some impressive brains happening over on Twitter. I definitely replied to someone who was joking, but there's a lot of people who are not. I can't believe it's called a disaster because he's listening to Moneypenny at the beginning of the game or whatever. It's like, oh, honey, it's James Bond. Have you seen it?
Yeah, it is funny, but. The crazy thing was, and like this is just pure anecdotal, like because of the pace of the review and having to get it all done, was like, okay, and I recorded something glorious, like 11 hours of footage, and I did so much badass stuff. I was like, I'm amazing. I felt like a god. I go to start putting the video review together, and my OBS had messed up and captured like, instead of the full screen, it captured like a quarter, and I was like, no. Then I went to go replay some bits and capture some new footage, and a new update had come out on Steam, and the game was busted. Like it was broken. It was hitching every 5 seconds. It was unplayable. Anytime a headshot, everything, all the frames dropped. I was like, what is going on? I was disabling overlays and things. So I ended up finding a direct email because the PR company was obviously offline. It was a long weekend for IOI and they were paying attention. I was like, no, your game's broken. And they were like, thank you. Could you send us some clips? So I quickly sent them some clips. 6 hours later, they pushed a patch, fixed everything. So they were, this came in hot, and that's often a sign of like, it's going to be a rough ride.
Yeah, it could be a roll of the dice, but I think more often than not, you're right. Yeah.
But it was a close call, but so stunned with how good it is, and I think they've done an amazing job. And spoiler alert, it's not really a spoiler. This isn't a plot related spoiler, but they are openly saying James Bond will return at the end of the game. So I would want a sequel to this, please.
Yeah, I mean, I feel this very similar to how I felt after Indiana Jones. Like, I hope we at least get one more of these. Just like this.
Please.
Give me one more. Take it, go in a different direction in terms of setting, but you don't have to do much more than that. I'm sure they have a million things they want to refine. That is one thing. I would love to see what's on the cutting room floor for this game because it is so streamlined, not just in terms of those guardrails of like keeping you from doing silly stuff in the open world parts, the open zone parts, but just in terms of the pacing where it's like you'll go into a scene and they'll be like, there's one line of dialogue, maybe, and then they cut straight to the beginning of the next action sequence. And I'm like, I bet there was so much more back and forth between the characters in that last scene. And they're like, why do we need this? Like, it's James Bond cut to the chase. Literally, that's what it's about, cutting to the chase sequence. And they do that over and over. And I'm like, I bet there was a time when this game was a lot more bloated, and for them to have the discipline to edit all that stuff out to make the best version of this game, it's admirable for sure. Did you mess around with the tactical simulation stuff at all, the sort of missions?
I did,
the VR missions,
and they're bringing more to that, and it's and I look at the support that we've had for Hitman World of Assassination. I'm like, okay, but the attack sim stuff, you've got challenges in there that have you replay different levels and do different things. Like I did the laundry room from the Grand Carpathian Hotel level, but no guns. So it was just fisticuffs, and that was a challenge because they had guns. But like the combat system is surprisingly deep, and I think people that, like you said, they might glance at it and think it's very Arkham and simple, but you have a lot of player freedom and expression to do absolutely crazy things with the environment. And one of my favorite touches is just seeing stuff and being able to sweep it off of the worktop into someone's face. Like, oh, there's an iron, dang, and then, they're dazed, and you can do something. It's just, it feels really, really good to play. And I would wholeheartedly recommend this to anybody that has a passing interest in, especially you mentioned Indiana Jones. If you enjoyed that kind of, I'm in this open world and I can fool around, It is very much
even
in
more
that
refined.
vibe.
I think this is an even more refined version of that idea. And I really liked Indiana Jones. The tech sim stuff gets me excited because it's if anything, this game made me realize, they really understand their own tools and their own ability to like craft content. And they were already like being like, here's some like teases of like what's coming up in the tactical simulation, the VR missions. It's like, they could just like take this James Bond character and get silly over here, and like they could do a Moonraker sort of thing, and be like, hey, why not put James Bond on the moon for one of these missions that is all like we're telling you in fiction is just a simulation, so it doesn't matter. So they could do all that stuff, and I hope
it's so fun.
I hope that like can thrive a little bit. I wouldn't want it to be like thrive so much that like it's a distraction from them doing that stuff with the next Hitman years down the line, but some of that stuff to have fun with this James Bond character, I would welcome it because I did have such a good time playing it.
Yeah, hell yeah, man, absolutely.
That's 007 First Light and Mina the Hollower reviews. Let's get to some of the headlines here now. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, Songs of the Past announced. This is from CD Projekt's blog. CD Projekt Red announced today that a third expansion to The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, one of the most critically acclaimed and best-selling role-playing games of all time, is coming next year. Songs of the Past is the third expansion coming to The Witcher 3. It will launch in 2027 on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. There is a Switch version of this game, not announced for that as of yet. CD Projekt Red is co-developing Songs of the Past with Fool's Theory, which I think is a studio that had some people from that studio, and they're going to be helping out with one of the other Witcher games. It all feels like getting up to speed on the lore, the characters, the tools, the processes at the studio, while also making something new for The Witcher 3. John, it's coming out next year, though. To me, that says, Witcher 4 is even further off than I was thinking. How are you reading this?
I think that's probably right. I feel like Witcher 4 is like 2028 at the earliest.
Very earliest,
If we're lucky. But, it's cool that, and I think we're seeing this more and more across the industry. And if you look at some of the biggest games, like the biggest games that are played every week, every month on the old Circana reports are all 10 years old, free to play. And The Witcher 3 in particular has such a special place in so many people. Like I've seen the outpouring of joy at this announcement from people that are actually obsessed with The Witcher. They're making more of it. And I think that's a great thing. I feel like maybe this was going to leak. Maybe that they didn't, because there was scuttlebutt floating around.
Yeah, there was recently. Yes, in the last few weeks.
And they, rather than because a year long wait, like an announcement, and then hey, wait a year, that's it for today. It feels like it maybe not have been on the cards, but rather than have people leak all the information, they'll just come out and say it themselves. That makes more sense. But
yeah, part of it also feels like this is a company that I think is publicly traded in Poland. I know they always share all their information, so I think there's something with that, and I think they're telling this to investors and kind of setting the expectations, because after this happened, the stock price did go down 4% because investors are like, wait, where's Witcher 4? That's the one that's going to make all the money, right? So I think this is them being like, hey, let's just kind of give you a little bit of insight of what's happening here so you can properly set your expectations. But yeah, I mean, I think this is just also them being like, hey, Witcher's very active, get ready for it, and here are some details. You'll see more soon. That Switch version, I would not expect this to come to Switch 1.
No.
But why wouldn't they announce a Switch 2 Definitive Edition that has this included, right? To me, that seems like something that does get announced here, maybe even very soon.
Closer to the... Either it could be could be down the line, like it could be closer to the release of the whole thing, or it could be something that would, showcase season's coming up. Maybe they'll surprise everyone, and maybe we'll see more of it than just this right now, like just the announce. Maybe we'll actually see some of what this is. But yeah, like it makes sense to bring this to Switch 2, and we're seeing all of the big platform holders and companies kind of realize that, this is the age of remasters and re-releases, and, because gamers love older titles, but always appreciate a new coat of paint. And, I'm sure there'll be things done to The Witcher 3 in and of itself that will come along with this to make it look prettier.
It is like a little funny because like Witcher 3 is definitely one of those games that is in that very specific era of like, something clicked over from 2012 to like 2017, where, oh, now a game that when it comes out, it no longer feels old after a couple of years. It's like, oh, that game could just come out today and still do just as well. And everyone be like, yeah, this looks like a modern game. Obviously, that's not 100% true. Things can always look better. Modern games do look a little bit better than games that came out in 2016, but just not that much better. So it's like
games looks good enough, man. Like the chase for graphics is kind of over. It's all about innovation and systems.
And you saw that in that behavior of like what you're talking about of like the most played games of people like, and you know, that's true for a lot of like free to play multiplayer games, but there are a handful of single player games like Skyrim and this that are just always on those lists. Because people just like, hey, this is good enough and it doesn't need to look any better. So it's a little odd that like Witcher 3 continues to be like kind of get this update over and over. But I think this is a very interesting way of doing it, right? Of this can last forever. So why wouldn't we just do more content when it comes time to like solve a couple of our problems? One, we got to remind people Witcher is a thing that is happening. This is a new deal, like separate from the deal we made to like get all the previous Witcher games made. And so we have to set up the whole future. And one good way of doing that is to like sort of just fertilize the ground around Witcher 3 a little bit. And at the same time, we're working with new people who we've hired and with these external contracted studios. And we all want to get everyone on the same page. So let's make that new content for Witcher 3 that's a little bit lower stakes, a little bit more, it's probably a lot cheaper. And we get something cool out of it. It can be like a marketing expense. And if we sell a bunch of more copies of Witcher 3 because of it, that's like a bonus on top almost. So it's like, it just kind of seems very smart.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see more and more of this sort of thing from many of the kind of big classic games that hit in that kind of period that you mentioned. Why not? Like I said, the outpouring of joy. I mean, we're seeing it even in the chat now. Like, oh my god, Witcher 3 was one of my favorite games of all time. Hell's yeah! Like, I'm down for a replay. Funny enough, bounced right off it. Bounced right off Witcher 1, 2, and 3. It's big open world games, people. They're just not for me most of the time.
Some of them are very much for me. I've also bounced off The Witcher 3 a couple times, mostly just because of the way it feels to play. It's just not my style.
It's not my jam.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I like the idea of like getting set up for a hunt and like doing all the magic spells on your gear and getting the potions all set up because it's very specific for this one kind of monster, and then going out there and actually doing that. That sounds like a very interesting loop. I just couldn't get over the hump with it. I will one day. I still want to see that game through. I know you say that about all of them, right? All right.
The backlog continues.
You can just throw it in that pile. I'll get to it one day. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Sony is shutting down a game. We'll talk about that after these messages. If you want to skip these, giantbomb.com/join. Ad-free versions of the shows are available over there. We will be right back.
All right, y'all. It is time to turn up the fun because Jeff Grubb, Plants vs. Zombies, is celebrating 17 years of lawn-defending, zombie-zapping action.
We're teaming up with Plants vs. Zombies Replanted to dish out codes across every platform, PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch. No matter how you play, you're in.
I'm ready to kick some grass, Grubb. Stay tuned at home to win.
It's Game Mess Mornings. I'm Jeff Grubb. That's Jon Clarke. Let's get back into the news here. Sony is shutting down Destruction Allstars. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. Sony Interactive Entertainment has confirmed it will soon shut down its early PS5 exclusive Destruction Allstars. The card combat title was developed by British studio Lucid Games and released in 2021 and received mixed reviews from the media. On Tuesday, PlayStation announced that the game has been removed from sale alongside its virtual currency, and multiplayer servers have been closed. Single-player modes will remain accessible to existing users until November 25th. It said in a message to players, after which only arcade mode single-player challenges shall remain playable. This is the first, like, sort of news item and game, like, moment that has actually made this generation feel a little bit old to me, John. I know it is old. I know it is 6-ish years old, but it just always felt like this is going to get started any day now. And then I remember Destruction Allstars came out and was going to be $70 and all that happened, and they put it out and it got kind of buried right away, and everyone's like, we don't want this even at, I think it was 40 or free to play. I can't remember what happened. either way, it's like it came and went very fast, and that feels like a lifetime ago. I was like almost surprised.
Double take.
Yeah, I was almost surprised. It's like, oh, this was still going, and then you look a little bit closer, and a lot of the community's like, oh no, this game hasn't really worked for 2 years. Like you could try to go play it, it wasn't working. It's like, oh, okay, so this feels like long overdue at this point. So I'm probably not much to like read into this other than like, yeah, this is a game that didn't work, right?
Yeah, it didn't really land particularly well with a lot of players, and they've even said that it had ongoing technical issues, and that's why they are turning it off. So I think the reality is that the team that made it, the support that needs to be there for it, does it justify us going in and fixing it? The answer, reality, is no. So rather than do any of that, it is, let's just turn it off and shut it down and stop people from buying it because it's broken and we don't want to pay to fix it. I mean, it happens, but yeah.
Hiroki Todoki got like a bill, and he's like, "What the fuck is the Destruction Allstars servers? What am I paying for?" Yeah, I never heard of this in my life. Destruction Allstars was always one that's like, okay, this is a Destruction Derby inspired game, right? And then it's just like it was never made a ton of sense. But then you hear Lucid, it's like, okay, well they learned from that, and then they were going to apply that to a new Twisted Metal game. It's like, that sounded pretty exciting. That seems like a good fit. Bring back Twisted Metal and kind of, I don't know, do something there. And then that game got canceled. And I really have no idea what Lucid is doing now. I'm like, in fact, I kind of want to Google it. If there's
like I'm curious.
Yeah,
are they even still around?
Right. I think they are. I don't think that they have been closed. But I also don't think that they have announced anything or released anything since this. They work on. They work with EA and Respawn. Oh yeah, look at this. They co-development on Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order and stuff like that. Oh, they worked on Sea of Thieves and Apex Legends and another game that I don't think has been released. Okay, so yeah, they're kind of a work for hire studio. Indicative a little bit, I think, of that early sort of effort by PlayStation to like figure out like what can we support our big single player narrative campaign-based games with, like what else can we put beside there? Like, we're not gonna, I remember there was that time when they were like, hey, we are investing big into live service games, and they showed everyone the pie chart. It's like, look, the number that we are putting into those big single player games, that's not changing. We're putting in the same amount of money, but we have all this other money and we want to figure out something else to go alongside those games, because it's not like we go like, we'll just spend more money on those games. It's really hard to start a Naughty Dog. And I was like, I'm convinced all of that makes sense. The one part that I might be stuck on is the live service games. And it's like, you saw how they got there because everyone was going into that party in that moment. And it's like, before the live service games, it was stuff kind of like this. It's like, something in between multiplayer, maybe some PSVR stuff. And it's like, yeah, none of that really felt like it was going to match. I don't know what else Sony does first party other than maybe the thing that has been working for Capcom. And I've been harping on this show for like the last couple of weeks. It's time for Sony to be like, hey, we have a lot of very recognizable properties and brands, and we should be bringing those back in whatever way we can. Remakes, remasters, just ports, and then sequels, new games based on Jumping Flash or whatever the fuck. That would be much more welcome to me than whatever Destruction Allstars was supposed to be.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a bunch of that. We got the state of play next week. There's rumors out there of new things, and there's remasters of old things that we've kind of already been announced. I think like the God of War trilogy has already been announced. We're going to see that. I even heard and I don't know if this is just scuttlebutt. This is not me reporting anything before anyone writes
what's that on the street?
Like a God of War 2018 remaster, and I know people will roll their eyes, another remaster from Sony to a degree, but like, you look at it from Sony's perspective, the reality is, some internet bubble people might write, another remaster, groan, but then they sell because people like to play the games they love looking even better than they did before. So, and that's an easy win for any platform holder right now, in an economy that is kind of screwed for everybody. So, I agree with you. Like, everyone's sort of like, what are we going to see from Sony at the State of Play? And they have such they've got such an incredible fan base of people that love so many of their IPs and properties. And it's like, where are they? Like, what are you doing? So, maybe they're inviting press to come in and sit down in a room and watch this thing. That sounds like they feel like they've got a pretty good show.
I mean, the Alamo Drafthouse partnership says the same thing to me. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they've done that for state of plays before. Maybe they've had movie theater stuff for state of plays. They've definitely had that for showcases. So
yeah.
And like I always just say that like everyone gets it. But the distinction was state of play was a more regular sort of Nintendo Direct or a diet Nintendo Direct in a lot of cases, and then the showcases would be like the big E3 shows. They're calling this a state of play. It is being presented as like a big E3 show, in my opinion. It's like, okay, so
feels that way.
Really getting my hopes up for that. But yeah, it feels like Sony's got a couple of levers that they know work, and yes, one of them is obviously the big expensive games that you can make one every 7 years or something like that. That works, but it has a lot of baggage attached to it. And then there's the other one of like remastering those games, especially when a TV show is about to come out or a movie's about to come out. That has worked for them, especially with like The Last of Us. I think they're hoping to replicate that with this rumored God of War, which I just will not be surprised if it goes down the exact same way. And then that could be like, okay, now you have that in the TV show, and here's the new Faye game or whatever. And that's, it's another one of these big games. It's like, the question of what else really just sort of lingers over Sony, because they haven't been able to put out those games at the pace they once did. And it's noticeable. Everyone's feeling it, especially as the price of these consoles goes up, and everyone feels like they need to get more to justify that. And that's a psychological thing, but it's a real thing I think a lot of people feel. And I know that these companies are like worried about that value, the optics of the value of the products they're putting out. And they were like, hey, if we can get more out there and just feel like a more vibrant place to play games, that'll go a long way. And Sony, I think, is like, okay, we got to really shift in that direction. And I do think that leads them to going back to PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 and bringing back a lot of that stuff. Bring back Mark of Cree. That's what I want to see.
Like there's tons of little, and I think the reality is that, like, I know Sony is known for giant, the animation and all of the bells and whistles that make into their narrative single player games. But like, there's a group of people that really want to play, like a Jak and Daxter or whatever, but like on a small budget. Like, you've got teams, like, have a small team within your big team, split off and spend 2 years making something smaller that isn't, and support your ecosystem in that way. And we're seeing Sega tease like Crazy Taxi, and like, do I think Crazy Taxi, whatever it ends up being, is going to be some giant AAA extravaganza? No, it's going to be a sensibly scoped product that will tug on the heartstrings of everyone wanting to hear yeah again, right? So like, Sony can do that. All of the platform holders need to do that, because gamers, if anything, are the biggest suckers for nostalgia that I have ever met in my life. I am one of them. Give me things that I love from when I was young, please.
Yep, exactly. Real quick, some, I guess, breaking news. This is Hideo Kojima collaborates with Nicholas Winding Refn. I don't know how to say that guy's name, or either of those guys' names, but they're working together on making a generative AI short film for Prada for a promotional event. That's you don't need to do that. Why?
Right.
Great. Yeah. Just at the height of the popularity of AI. I know, like, we talk about AI a lot on this show, John, and it's at a point now where everyone's like, it's happening, accept it, or everyone's still mad about it. And I'm like, I kind of want to be on the side of all the kids who are booing it at their graduation things when all these old fucks bring it up. I'm like, I'm definitely on the side of the kids. I'm not going to be standing up there with the former CEO of Google being like, oh, hey, it's inevitable, accept it. It's like, I don't know, let's get loud and say this sucks. But it surprises me how many people who do seem like they are in positions of power are just like, I'm embracing it. So this sounds great to me. I'm Hideo Kojima. And of course Kojima would be for AI. Of course he would be. Of course he would be. It's Kojima. So, but a little disappointing. So
it's just a bit sucky, isn't it? Like,
it's sucky, yeah. Don't spend your time doing that. Make something cool instead. Everyone likes you when you make cool stuff.
Yeah, like, it's not hard. Like, I don't know, man. Like, the AI debate, we could spend an hour talking about the ups and downs of that thing. Like, but I generally agree. Like, I lean on the, I totally get it for making life easier in the back end, but not from a creative way, not from designing the stuff way. Like the stuff that we don't see.
It doesn't have a good or bad taste. It does not have taste.
Exactly.
I mean, at 43, John, in my life at this point, it's like, I don't have a ton of like core values. A couple of them I do have is like, I want to fuck with people who have good taste. And or even bad taste in an interesting way, but no taste whatsoever, which is what the machine can produce. Why would I ever waste my time
touch it with a 10-foot barge pole?
Yeah, not for anything creative ever. Like, yeah, it's kind of goofy. It's goofy, Kojima.
Clouds.
You're being it's embarrassing. You should be a little embarrassed. All right, let's keep going here. Square Enix shows off Dragon Quest XII, now known as Beyond Dreams, following what was a developmental restart. This is from Ben Lyons at Game Reactor. It's the 40th anniversary of Dragon Quest, and we have been celebrating the feat by delving into our history with the long-running JRPG saga. But to add to this, Square Enix has plenty to share about the future of the franchise, namely the long-awaited Dragon Quest XII, as series creator Yuji Horii teased recently. We finally have an answer as to why the game has been so silent for such a long period of time. The answer is basically that it was reset and rebooted. In the update video shared by the Dragon Quest team, executive producer Yosuke Saito explained that the project hit a lot of hurdles along the way, and that due to a reshuffle of the team and a restart of development, it's going to be a bit longer before it's in your hands. But they did reintroduce the game, showed a new logo, which we thought we were just going to get a logo when we talked over it this morning. Got a new subtitle, Beyond Dreams.
Yep.
I can't remember what it was called before, but they dropped the previous one. Now it's Beyond Dreams.
Flames of Fate was, I think,
Flames of Fate. Thank you. Now they have also, though, shown off a little bit of the world, some of the characters. Doesn't look like a game that is coming out anytime soon. Does look like, hey, here's some environments, here's some character art. That's what we can confidently show you in this moment. But yeah, it kind of explains the recent way that the Dragon Quest series has been going, which is here's a lot of remakes and ports and stuff like that to fill in the gaps because they knew this was happening. Hey, get it right for sure. But I guess when should we expect this? Feels like a couple years off still.
It does feel like a while away. And like, I give kudos to the team. Like it's always hard to be like, this isn't working, stop, reset, rethink. And then to be able to, to have to come out and be like, sorry, everyone. It's always a sucky thing to have to do, but they did do it. They've owned it. They've given a little tease, a little glimpse to kind of satiate, people that were hungry for such things. I think they announced that the Withered World, Dragon Quest Monsters, is coming to Switch 1 and 2. So that's nice. That's good. But yeah, like this feels like a little while away. It's a bummer if you were really, really looking forward to it, but it's better than it, the message today being, it's cancelled. Here's nothing, Yeah. So.
Yeah, it sounds like they want to just get it right. They did say that this game still has original art from Akira Toriyama, who, that's the Dragon Ball guy.
I think.
Yes, yep. And it's okay. Awesome. That's so they don't want to besmirch any of that, and they want to get it right. And I don't know how I felt about the original pitch for Flames of Fate, as you told me that's what it's called, because the idea was maybe the combat's going to be different. Maybe we'll go maybe real time.
Risky.
Right. And then it's like, hey, the games are always bubbly and cheerful and colorful. What if it wasn't? What if it wasn't though?
A lot of Dragon Quest fans
yeah, right. Okay, yeah, but what if it fucking was actually? What if we just got another Dragon Quest game? And it does feel like that is the one of the corrections that happened here. I don't know if it's the core correction, like if this is the reason that they did it, because they're started going down that path and they looked around at each other like, actually this sucks, we hate it. There could have been so many other problems. Making games is difficult, but obviously it does seem like they took this moment to rethink everything, and they were like, let's retry. And to me, I think the darker, grimmer, maybe real-time or more real-time combat, again, who knows what it would have been for a Dragon Quest game, is an idea that probably sounded somewhat reasonable 5 years ago. And now it's like, no, people want their RPG bullshit. They want to be steeped in that stuff. It works. It obviously still works after Clair Obscur. Make the stuff that you do even better and even more interesting. And that's sort of the path. Don't be like, we got to sand those edges off to be more like all the other games.
It's
that sounds good.
Which Final Fantasy was it that went hey, do you remember Game of Thrones? Which one was it? 16?
16, yeah.
you know. So like, don't do that.
I think that is, I would guess here, John, that's exactly what happened.
It feels like a good guess.
Yes, they learned a lesson from Final Fantasy 16, and not a game that was like garbage by any means, but one that just feels like it missed the mark of what they were going for, of like, hey, if we do make it like Game of Thrones, we can get some of that shine. It's like, it doesn't work that way. You kind of have to make your own. Your Final Fantasy, you should be making your own. And I think I think they know that now. And I think that you're going to see that from them going forward, and starting with games like this. So cool to see.
100%.
All right. Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition is coming next month. It's claimed. This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition will be released next month. It's claimed. That's according to Bill Kuhn, who has a history of posting retail listing information ahead of official announcements. Writing on Deal Labs, it's confirmed that the game will be released on June 23rd. Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition will reportedly include all previous released updates and DLC. It's also claimed that the Nintendo Switch 2 version of the game will receive a technical overhaul when compared to the Nintendo Switch 1 version of the original game, which is, I think that's all that's available right now. The game will retail for $50. To me, this sounds like this is the Sonic Frontiers sort of update that they put out now, because maybe they announce a new one over Summer Game Fest.
Yeah, again, like look at the kind of theme of the show is, hey, you remember this game that it was quite well received? Well, we're going to update it for all the people with new machines and new hardware, and we're going to give it a coat of paint. But hey, remember it? And oh, look, there's a new one. Yeah, makes sense to me. Like, I hope so.
Yeah,
like,
I hope so too. I like Sonic Frontiers quite a bit, and I think they could figure out a lot of ways to improve it with a sequel. But that would require them sticking with what they did, which seems like they might. I think Sonic Frontiers did pretty well, but I think you're right to point out the theme of the episode is marketing for video games has kind of shifted from commercials during NBA games. That still happens for Call of Duty or whatever. But if you're anything else, it's kind of shifted into put the marketing in the game that people are playing or that they frequently go back to, or give them a reason to go back to it. Make the games themselves the marketing. It's like, oh, yeah, that does seem to be pretty smart and does seem to be working. My kids like this a lot, and a Switch 2 version update would be welcome. I think they would probably go back to this game and quite enjoy it. That's a 2022 game, so yeah, that's 2027 release, 5-ish years between those two. That sounds pretty reasonable to me. Although I guess it's possible they announce a Sonic Frontiers 2 and it comes out this holiday, but I don't know. Maybe I'm not expecting that. Can
we stomach any more games? Like, would they want to go up against, like, no one's going to be releasing anything. Like, I've been sitting here trying to figure out, like, just from an Xbox point of view, they've got Minecraft Dungeons 2, Fable, Halo Campaign Evolved, Gears of War E-Day, and whatever new Call of Duty, all to come out between now and December. And I'm like, where do these fit?
Really now in November 19th, right? Because really now in Grand Theft Auto 6, it's like, because after that, I mean, there will be games that come out in December, but it's going to be like, it's not going to be the biggest ones, or maybe like late December for a couple of them. They try to get on the other side of it because they just absolutely need that extra time. But most games are going to try to get out of the way, and that means coming out before Grand Theft Auto 6.
So, I think you're right. Then if there is a Sonic Frontiers 2, maybe early 2027.
Yeah, I could see like February, March. That'd be excellent. I hope so. I'm looking forward to it. That's one of those Sonic games. I'm like, oh, they just kind of like made a fun thing to run around in, which is what I want from Sonic.
Yeah.
All right, last story here. EA says there are more stories coming with the Star Wars Jedi protagonist Cal Kestis. This is from Jonas Mackey at Game Reactor. Gotta say, the new James Bond reminds me a lot of how I felt about Cal Kestis, where I was like, kind of a generic looking dude. Maybe it's like me getting older. It looks too young for this character. I don't know. I'm not going to care about them. Make it something more interesting. In Star Wars, it's like, make him an alien. I mean, here was like, I don't know, give him some ruggedness or something. It's like, now both won me over kind of immediately. Cal Kestis actually took a little bit longer. Here, it was like James Bond. I'm like, oh, this totally works. And I do want more from both of those characters. I want more from Cal Kestis. We're getting more. Star Wars Jedi 3 is in the works for sure. It went into production right away after the second one, kind of before that happened. Everyone involved knew they were going to make a third game. They wanted to do a trilogy. And so it's like, okay, well, yeah, is that the more stories here? And it sounds like maybe more is happening. So Game Rant, I think, talked to a Lucasfilm representative who said, "Never say never" when asked about like getting more Cal Kestis. We've got his lightsaber in the park. We've got more Cal stories coming. And plural, obviously this is maybe an off-the-cuff remark, so we don't have to read into it a ton. But I'll say I think the energy surrounding Cal Kestis and the Jedi games is that they do want to take that character, that actor, and kind of begin inserting him into other places. And so does you think this probably means like he shows up in movies and shows, right? Not necessarily more games.
Is it the guy that is the face of Cal Kestis is also the voice actor? He's an actor.
Yes,
right?
He's the performance actor. Yes, so he does the entire performance.
So he can quite easily be slotted into additional fiction, right? Be it TV shows or movies. And like, I know that the sequel launched a little bit wonky in terms of its technical chops.
It's really good now, though.
Yeah, they sorted it out. And as always, all developers would wish for an extra year, but then you've got to say ship at some point.
Of course, yeah.
But they've come out, like, I remember playing the first one and kind of bouncing off and then going back at that kind of like, all of the reviews have stopped. I can play some actual games I missed now, like December at some point, like 6 months after it released. And I was like, holy crap, this is really fun. And I don't really like all the Dark Souls type stuff. I turned all the Soulsy bits off and just had fun with exploring a Star Wars game. And, same for the sequel. So would I want a third? Hell's yeah. And he's a great character. I think the both story arcs I've heard are really good. The first one I really enjoyed. Let's have more Cal Kestis. Give it to us, EA and Disney. Go for it.
Yeah, it feels like kind of the best, like for a franchise like Star Wars, the idea of if you are going to make something Star Wars, like Tony Gilroy, who made Andor, is like, hey, one of the things I want to do is I'll take some toys out of the box. But when I put them back, I'm going to put more toys back than I took out, meaning I'm going to create more stuff for other people to work with in the future. And Cal Kestis feels like he's in that rank of, you put him back in the Star Wars toy box, and now that is another cool thing to be explored by future creators. And really the whole cast of people in those Star Wars Jedi games who were all excellent, especially that Witch of Dathomir or whatever. I loved her. She was fantastic. I'd love to see more of that. All right. That does it for the headlines, John. We got through it. You have a poll question from Monday. Let's get to that. Or do we have a poll question for Monday, Jan? I can't remember.
Nope. We were on holiday.
Thank you. That's right.
It was Memorial Day.
Yes, it was Memorial Day. Thank you. And then Friday was the Bomb 12. So let's just remind you all of that. The Bomb 12 is updated on giantbomb.com. So if you want to see the most recent Bomb 12, which are the 12 games that matter to people who are really playing video games, you can see that there. You just scroll down a little bit. Then off to the left, you'll see a vote here button. You click that, takes you to the Google form. You can vote for the game that you want to see on the Bomb 12 this week. We will do that to wrap things up on Friday. I'm looking forward to it. With that out of the way, though, let's see here. John, what do you have going on? Where can people find you? All that good stuff.
Well, I'll take the opportunity. I actually have a very, it's SGF coming up next week, but this week is crazy busy because tomorrow I head off. If you're in the UK, I'm going to be at UK Games Expo, which is for all of you card and board game nerds out there. And I'll be there with our game that we made.
Yeah, show it off.
Right? Like you can buy this on Amazon right now, but we'll be there. It's cheaper buying it from us in person. So if you're watching right now,
tell audio listeners the name of the game again.
Yeah, Console Wars, the card game. So everything you love about this industry, all of the arguments you've had online in forums about exclusivity and media bias and fanboys, it's all in this card game where you fight. You fight as a video game publisher for exclusives. It's very silly. It's very tongue-in-cheek. We had a lot of fun making it. We are currently, and we announced this on our show a little while ago, but we are currently out there. We're pitching it. We've partnered with an award-winning UK development team to make this into an actual video game. Had some really interesting conversations. Has given me an entirely new appreciation about how hard indie developers have it in terms of actually getting funding to make this stuff now. It's crazy difficult. And this is a cheap game in the grand scheme of things to make. But yeah, so we're there, we're selling the game. You get cool stuff if you come down. We've got a little hollow card to give away. But we'll be in Hall A of UK Games Expo. If people want to come on and say hello and say you saw us on Giant Bomb, feel free to do so. I'm a communicative and social fellow most of the time.
Hell yeah, I hope you have a good time. And yeah, definitely if you're there, track down John and say hi, everybody. In the meantime, over here at Giant Bomb, we have a busy day. Poke Monday Night Combat is happening right after this. Jan will need some time to get set up, everybody, but just stick around. You're going to catch that with him and Sean. I'm going to be watching. I'll be doing a Grub Snacks Premium that you'll be able to catch later this week if you're a premium member. Blight Club is going to be happening at 2 p.m. Eastern. That's 11 a.m. Pacific time. Dan's got like 40 minutes left of Space Ace, I think, and he gave Metroid Prime 5 stars. I'm just going for all the jokes he loves, everyone. And then let's see. And then this evening, it's a launch look. It's back. James Bond himself, Mike Minotti, will be streaming 007 for the launch look. He's going to start that at 7 p.m. Eastern. Going to go to at least 11 p.m., but he could go later, and I expect that he probably will because I think he's going to like that game. I think he's going to have fun with that game, absolutely. And it's so like, I don't know, presents so well. It's so cinematic. It looks great on stream. People are going to have a great time with that. And then, regular stuff for the rest of this week with a few other fun things here or there. Definitely tune into Giant Bomb for all of that and more. Thank you all, though, for watching. John, thank you for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.